Hello, students, and welcome to April 19th. I hope you had a wonderful vacation. I hope you rested with your time off, and I hope you're ready to learn to do some algebra now as we begin to solve equations. But we'll start with our do now, where we have a prompt about pathways and careers. And now that you get into more like high school type of math, it's a good time to start thinking about whether you're interested in a career that would use math or science or how your career might use the subjects that you're learning now in school. So I want you to talk about that. Our objective will be to solve one-step equations, and our essential question is how can I use those inverse operations to solve one-step equations? For your assignment today, I would like you to complete the do now. I'd like you to complete the work page, the exit ticket, and remember, show your work to me. That way I can give you credit for all your hard work. So don't forget to do that. If you didn't finish, still show it to me, okay? Always show it to me, but you can just finish up for homework. And now remember, we're in Q4, the fourth quarter, so go ahead, finish strong, and get ready for high school. So for our exit ticket, we will come back and we will talk about the 4 steps for solving equations. But before we get onto those equations, our do now is about pathways and careers. What are the advantages of discovering your professional life vision, what you want to be when you grow up? What's the advantage of discovering that when you're young? Well, you can take, the classes that will lead to that. You can read articles and kind of get to know it ahead of time. You can listen to blogs. And in general, you can learn a lot more about a subject while you're younger. And also, you can find out if it's something you like. Also, you can find out, is there somebody that might tell you more about that kind of a career? So maybe you could meet a mentor. A mentor is somebody who helps you at the beginning of your career. And there are many other reasons, and I'd like to hear those ideas that you have. Why is it a good reason to find out, what you want to be when you grow up, when you're young? You might find out you don't like it, and then you can eliminate it and say, you know what, let me move on to something else. So at least be thinking about that, students, but no rush. You get to grow up first. All right, so let's work on these one-step equations. Okay, we have 4 steps to solve one-step equations. The 4 steps are to locate the variable. The variable is that x or a or c or y or z, whatever the letter is. Locate, find the variable. Then determine the operation that is tied to the variable. What is happening to x? That's what we always say in my class. What is happening to x or y or z? Then we're going to use those inverse operations on both sides of the equal sign to solve. And, this is where we undo. It's like untying that knot. We undo those operations so that we can isolate the variable. That's step 3. And then step 4, we can check our solution by plugging it back in for the variable to see if our solution checks. Now, inverse operations, we started talking about these, and they can be used to solve equations. So inverse operations, addition and subtraction, are inverse to each other. Addition is the inverse of subtraction. Subtraction is the inverse of addition. Multiplication and division are also the inverse to each other. Okay, so we're going to use those inverses to solve some simple one-step equations here. And for the first set today, we have addition and subtraction. Then we'll do a few multiplication problems. But let's start with this addition and subtraction. So I'm going to actually rewrite all of these. I've got x plus 7 equals -1. Please be very mindful of those negative numbers. Well, what is happening to x? Okay, we're looking at the 4 steps. What is happening to x? Here's our variable x. What's happening? Well, 7 is being added to it. So that was step 2. Step 1, I located x. Step 2, I determined that 7 was being added to x. Step 3, I'm going to use inverse operations to isolate that variable. And whatever I do to one side of an equation, I need to do to the other side. So the inverse of addition is subtraction. So if I subtract 7 on one side, I need also to subtract 7 on the other side. So -7 and +7 cancel to make 0. So I have x equals -1 plus -7 is -8. Now, how do I know that's correct? I substitute it back in. I'm going to make this t, the vertical line of the t sort of serves as the equal sign. And on the left, I have my x plus 7. Then I have my equals -1. So I'm going to substitute the answer, -8, for 7. So -8 plus 7 equals -1. Okay, and I don't need to put the equal sign there. And -8 plus 7 is -1. -1 equals -1. And if I have the same answer on both sides, my answer checks. So in number 2, step 1, here's the variable m. I've located the variable. What is happening to m? Well, 11 is being subtracted. So if I want to isolate that m, I need to add 11, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Now I have -11 plus 11 equals 0. So now I have m equals -9 plus 11 is a +2. So let's see if our answer checks. So we have m minus 11 equals -9. I'm going to substitute 2 minus 11. And what is 2 minus 11? It's -9. -9 equals -9, and our answer checks. So first we have our answer. In the first one, x equals -8, and in the second one, m equals 2. And then we checked our answers using by substituting. So let's go to number 3. We have 9 equals 14 plus h. Here's my h. What's happening to h? Well, 14 is being added to h, and that's a +14. Be mindful of those invisible signs at the beginning of a number sentence. So if a +14 is being added to 8, then the inverse operation would be to subtract 14 from h. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I need to do to the other. So my negative and +14 cancel and they become 1. So on the right side of the of the equality sign, I have my h. On the left side, I have 9 minus 14, which equals -5. So let's check our work. So if this is correct, h equals -5. And I can rewrite that with the h on the left equals -5. Let's make our t. 9 equals 14 plus h. I will substitute -5, 14 minus 5. Remember, 14 minus 5 is the same as 14 plus a -5, and 14 minus 5 equals 9, and our answer checks. So here's our answer, and it checks. Now, -5 equals h, or h equals -5. Either one is correct. Right, number 15, negative 15 w equals 14. Here's our w, step 1, step 2. What's happening to it? 15, negative 15, don't forget the negative sign. Negative 15 is being added. The opposite of adding negative 15 is to subtract negative 15. So if we're going to subtract negative 15, if you're subtracting a negative means adding, right? Because it's a not, and whatever you do to both sides, one side you do to the other. So negative 15 plus 15 cancel. W equals 31. I'm sorry, 29. I didn't mean to say 31. I meant to say 29. Now let's check our answer. Okay, let's see how it works. We have negative 15 plus 29 equals 14. Or I should say negative 15 plus plus W equals 14. We do that substitution. And if we combine negative 15 plus 29, we get 14. We end up with 14 equals 14, and our answer checks. Okay, number 5, negative 21 equals k minus 8. So we've located the variable k, and we determined that 8 is being subtracted. The opposite of subtracting 8 is adding 8, and whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So negative 8 plus 8 will cancel, they become 0, and we end up with negative 21 plus 8 on the left side. So negative 21 plus 8 is negative 13 equals k. And let's check our answer. Make our t, the vertical line is the equal sign. Negative 21 equals k minus 8. I will rewrite this with the substitution. And negative 13 minus 8 is negative 21. Negative 21 equals negative 21, and our answer checks. So number 6, I have negative 1 equals negative 4 plus v. So I locate the v, and I look at what's happening. Negative 4 is being added to v. The inverse operation would be to add 4, positive 4, to v. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So now, negative 4 plus 4 will cancel. Change my color. And on the right side of the equation, I have v. On the left side, I have 3. 3 equals v, or I can write v equals 3. I like my variables usually on the left. Now I will check my work. Negative 1 equals negative 4 plus v. Negative 1 equals negative 4 plus 3. And negative 4 plus 3 equals negative 1. And our answer checks. Fits like a hand in a glove. And we have 2 more left. We're going to start with multiplication. Now let's review. When we have this 4a, we have a letter and a number next to each other. That is always multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division. So what we have here in number 7 is 4 times a equals negative 24. Well, the opposite of multiplying a by 4 would be to divide a by 4. So whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So 4 divided by 4 equal 1. So that leaves me with a equals negative 24 divided by 4, that's negative 6. Now let's rewrite that problem with the substitution and see if our answer checks. We've got 4a equals negative 24. We'll substitute the negative 6, and 4 times negative 6 is negative 24, and negative 24 equals negative 24, and our final answer checks. And finally, in number 8, we have negative 56 equals negative 7 times p. So the opposite of multiplying negative 7 by p is to divide negative 7 by p, and whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. Except, you know what, I don't want to divide by p, I want to divide by negative 7. You will be dividing by letters in algebra next year, but not yet. Sorry about that. So I'm dividing by negative 7. So negative 7 divided by negative 7 equals 1. Now, be careful with your signs. Negative 56 divided by negative 7 equals positive 8. So what we've got here is 8 equals, and negative 7 over negative 7 canceled. We've isolated p, so we have 8 equals p. Let's check our work and see how we did. So we've got negative 56 equals negative 7p. We substitute p, so we've got negative 7 for our answer, 8. We multiply negative 7 by 8. Negative times a positive is a negative. 7 times 8 is 56. So we've got negative 56 on both the left and right side, and our answer checks. So let's go up to our exit ticket and let's fill out those 4 steps for solving equations. I know we have them on your paper, but you know what? Let's kind of put them in our own words. So we're going to need a light color here. I'll use the white. First, we're going to locate the variable. In other words, find x. Okay, the second thing we will do is determine the operation tied to the variable, or ask what is happening to x. Okay, we have to ask that. That's finding the operation tied to the variable. Then we're going to undo or use inverse operations on both sides of the equal sign to solve. So in other words, we will isolate x by using inverse operations. That's inverse, let me write that here, operations. Okay, and then number 4, check your solution by substituting your solution for the variable. Okay, so you substitute the solution for the variable, and that's it. Those are the 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. Use them consistently. Doesn't matter if your variable is being added, subtracted, multiplied by, or divided by. Doesn't matter if you have whole numbers, integers, decimals, or fractions. These 4 steps will always get you out of trouble and get you to the solution of the problem nice and quickly. If you finished early and you did your exit ticket and you're due now, I do have for you a little activity. You can create a word cloud of various careers, and here are some ideas to get you started. And this is the website you use. I also have today for you a little fallen phrase. So And it does have something to do with your life work or your career. So you guys are pretty good at these. We've done a couple of these in class, so I hope you enjoy that. So remember, keep on practicing because practicing is the key. Keep up that dedication you've had for math this year. This is your year. Don't let it be it's a throwaway year or a year of checking out. This is a year to shine, a year to show that you can learn even when learning is a little bit hard. So as always, you know what to do. Always practice. And as you do, you'll be great.